No, man. Bridging the gap. We're back. It's been a while, a little hiatus. We had to get business right. We had to take care of our mentals. You know, was it 2021? Last time you guys heard from us, it was maybe right after Christmas or so, in our holiday pack. We were just wrapping up a nice camp. We were wrapping up a few things. The fourth quarter of 2020, which was huge for us, for our business to survive. We made it. Alhamdulillah, as they said. Thank God for that. We're here. It's the young OG, Ryan Yates, Coach Yates. You know, I'm here with my OG. I wouldn't even just say co-host. My OG, my mentor, a business partner here in Dubai, Julian King, aka Coach King, aka Jew Pop, aka Jules the Jeweler, aka nephew of Martin Luther King. How you feeling, big guy?
I'm all right, man. I'm happy to be back. It's good to get this going again because this is therapeutic, and it's hopefully we're off to a good start for a whole new year.
Man, yes, for sure. And for everybody that's the first time listener, you're at the Bridgin the Gap podcast. It's on Instagram. That's at Bridgin the Gap _, all one word, no spaces. Same thing on Facebook. You can find us on, everywhere that they put stuff. Amazon, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and a host of other ones. So we have our link tree out there. So lock in with us. We're here to stay. We were testing it out to begin with to see if we had a chance. We have a chance. I think we got something special brewing. So just like Coach and I do with everything, we sat down the last 3 weeks. I did some game planning, let them know what I was thinking. And, now we're pushing forward. We got some cool things coming. We are here today for our past listeners without our young buck, Ethan. Ethan ate a bad batch. he had some bad food, so he's out. He's staying away from us. No, really, we're for COVID protocols, he's staying quarantined just in case. So he's with us via Zoom, managing some things. He's here in spirit though. But let's get into it a little bit with the check-in, Coach. How you feeling with the new year?
Hey man, new year brings new beginnings, new opportunities, and we definitely need it. I think everybody's tired. Everybody was worn out mentally, physically, emotionally from 2020. It's time to move forward, man.
The crazy thing for me is everybody's saying Happy New Year, but this is the first, we just ended a decade. You think about that? Like how much things were different. 2010, right? Yeah. 2010, that was my senior year of high school.
That's right. Yeah. That's
right. We were there senior year of high school, and that ended for us like crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, it's light in comparison to here, but 2020 ended for us in it topped 2010 for sure. But what led to that in between, it was something different. Like we had a wild ending to 2010. Like it was crazy. I didn't know how I was gonna rebound. And I really spent those next 9 years trying to figure it out all over again, like for real. And now we're here.
Yeah, with the way 2010 ended, again, we always talked about is you got to move on.
Yeah.
Because if not, you will end up living your life with regrets and what if, what coulda, what shoulda, and there's nothing you can do about it. Things are out of your control. That's the part of life that we all have to accept.
Yeah. Me. I think everything happened for a reason, and everything's tied together. So having to deal with that at that age, I was 17, 18, dealing with those type of situations, and you said having to roll with the punches. I think that's what helped. It's almost like God was preparing us for this moment, because when we got here, 15 hours away, thousands and thousands of miles away, and having to build a business together in a world where we don't know nothing, anything, and just figuring it out. Every day, every hour was just rolling with the punches, right? And guys, we will really get into everything, the details about how we got here soon enough when the time is right. And that story is something you're gonna
Hey,
love
let
to
me
hear.
let me step in and tell everybody that there was a lot of moments, daily moments, where I had to tell Ryan, relax, relax, just put your head down, let's go.
But look, on the flip side, I had to when I finally relaxed, I had to go over and tell him, "Yo, big dog, we got it. We're gonna go now. I finally see the vision. Let's go." And that's a crazy dynamic. We call the podcast "Bridging the Gap" because Coach and I with 20-year age difference. Like it's and I don't know. Coach knows I've had a couple attempts at some entrepreneurial things, and they weren't successful. Which your first 2 or 3 tries aren't, but those are my peers. I'm in a space now to where I've grown into the role of business partner, and everybody on the team is 20 years older than I am. Like it's just a completely different. It's a completely sense of urgency. Like the sense of urgency is different because all of you guys have full families and things to take care of. Whereas, I'm just figuring things out. So things got to push a little different for you guys.
Yeah, yeah, things mean a little bit more to
Yeah.
us at this point in time because we don't necessarily have the years left in front of us to make up for certain mistakes. So we gotta try to be as perfect as possible. I said perfect as possible. You're never gonna be perfect, but you want to do your best to make the best decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's still crazy to me sometimes. I'm sitting there and we're on conference calls and I'm talking and it's 70-year-old here, 50-year-old here, 46 here. And I'm like, my age. And I'm sitting back like, they listening though. That's what I do. That's why the podcast is important. Right. Because when we talk about bridging the gap, it's 2 sides to that bridge. Right. And you only put it together if one end listens to the other and receives. And I'm blessed to have older gentlemen around me who actually take in what I say. And if it's something that doesn't make sense at the moment, they give me some constructive criticism and a plan to move forward. But if it's something that's dope, they're like, let's go do it. You better go do it. Right. So I appreciate that for sure, man. What about your trip to the States? Because you got to go home on a surprise visit.
Yeah, but it wasn't much of a surprise visit. For all the listeners out there, I lost somebody close to me, and my grandmother, and it was expected, but I was intending to get there before it actually happened, and so my entire trip in the States, in terms of funeral, a lot of travel, the COVID situation in the U.S., people in the U.S. just wear a mask, and trying to get back to the UAE was quite challenging. So it wasn't necessarily the relaxation period that I needed, but it was good to see family in whatever capacity I could see them.
What was the atmosphere like just being home though? Because I'm sitting here talking to him like I'm locked in jail or something, and I don't. And I'm still counting the calendar because I haven't been home since 2019, like August 2019.
Let's just say it was strange. That's all I can say. It was an awkward feeling being home, even when I touched down in the airport, just because you could see that America is divided right now. We know that there's been underlying issues for the past 30, 40 years that has been bubbling, and now they finally come to the top. And a lot of people are walking on eggshells, and it's a powder keg.
Hmm.
And it just didn't feel the same as when I typically would go home from being overseas or something like that. And so it was very, very strange. But again, whenever you can see your loved ones in any capacity, cherish the moment because you never know when you're going to get that moment again.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's something we definitely have to take into consideration being over here with the time difference, and sometimes we got to sacrifice sleep to talk to family. But you talked about the difference in climate because it's something we have to do to address. Because as we speak right now, the president is giving his inauguration speech, and they're going through that. I saw the photos of Kamala and Michelle Obama there looking stunning, and just the change in things. You've been alive a lot longer than me. You've seen, I guess, you've been through Reagan?
Yes.
You been Reagan, both Bushes,
Jimmy
uh,
Carter.
Jimmy Carter,
Yep.
Clinton,
Yep.
Obama,
And
and 45,
Obama.
and now you go through Biden. But like,
Right.
talk about like the difference between these last two presidential shifts and everything you've seen before.
Not to get into any political avenues, but it's just the difference in being a professional and not being a professional. That's just the simplest way I can put it.
Yeah, that's serious. You leaving some stuff out though, man.
I'm
Come
leaving
on.
a lot of stuff, but
Well,
we don't need to get into that just because now we're at a point in time where it's time to move forward and correct things.
Well, let's talk about that.
And get back to normal.
Let's talk about where you think we go from here. Because, out of all those tough situations, you talk about how 2010 ended different. You was like, you can't hold on to those things, right? You're saying we got to move on. And this is something that you'll hear people talk about, but moving on for us as, just everyday citizens who trying to find a way is different for a lot of other people, right? So how do you see, what would be your advice? Because you one of the most down to earth people ever. So like there's somebody else just like you.
We want to put it in real terms. We want to start going forward by being honest and being truthful. We all know that there's certain situations where you hear things that you don't like, you don't agree with, but we all know that at some point in time, you appreciate that because you at least know how to deal with people and you know what the situation is. But when you're being told falsehoods, there's no way you can really progress as a person, as a family, as a country, a community, what have you, if you don't know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we start in terms of turning the country back around, in my opinion, because there's going to be always opposition. But to start by telling the truth. Then after we start telling the truth, let's start calling out what we see for what it is.
Accountability.
It's accountability, whether it's social injustice by police brutality and abuse of power and abuse of authority, things like that. And that's not to condemn the police force, because I have a brother that's a police officer. Mm-hmm. I have a cousin that's a police officer. But anybody that's a bad seed, we got to call them out. Mm-hmm. We got to hold them accountable because they are bringing a dark stain on the entire department, mm-hmm. and we can't have that. And I know. And people need to get out of the narrative of believing that the average citizen doesn't support the black and blue. Mm-hmm. They support them. They just don't support the ones that abuse their power.
Yeah. It goes back to what we talk about with basketball, right? We talk about star players. When you get to an organization that just has a bad system, you pick up those bad habits. Right? Like those individuals don't go into I know people that went into the police force as well, and they were generally great people before they got in there. But a system is a system, right? Like it's important. You send, let's say, anybody who leaves the Wizards organization and goes anywhere else, they're going to flourish, right? That's what we say. That's a joke amongst the basketball world. As soon as they leave, Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, whoever else, when they leave, they're going to get it together because the system is just different. And it's the same way there. And I think that's America as a whole with the wealth gap, with the gender disparity with things. It's just the system is bad. They need a detox. Just like I said, I'm going to detox to get my digestive system some time to relax and get back together. We just need a detox. And hopefully, this next 4 years gives us the stability we need after, 4 years of some rough turmoil, which affects the entire world. Here in Dubai, the first time for me being out of the country. And I'm seeing vividly how politics in the U.S. affects the economies around the world. Right?
Right.
That's crazy, but that's just a little something for you guys, to let you know that the basketball guys got a little bit more to say than just, X's and O's.
Well, I have a lot more to offer than just basketball. But we won't get into that just because we don't want to overstep our bounds. We want to keep this inviting for everybody.
Yeah. Well, we'll find creative ways to share that because it is important. Because as you and I both know, everybody doesn't have like positive adult influences, right? That's one of the advantages I think a podcast gives people is that how back in the day, you could go sit on your porch with your grandpa or your uncle, whoever tells those great stories, or whoever just gives you those moments, and just you sitting down talking and listening, you can get some game from it, right? Or you in a barbershop and you can just listen to the old heads talk, right? Everybody doesn't have that these days. And people, whether they were right or wrong, Unc get around a spades table or whatever else.
They definitely were a lot of wrong.
They just are talking though, right? So now some guys, we are responsible with the way we approach things. We definitely got to share it in a responsible manner, but those things that come as we progress and get more creative for how to deliver it. But I had a vacation of my own because you were gone. Lord knows I love that. Lord, I love this guy to death, but man, I was chilling. I ain't gonna lie to you, I was chilling.
You mean typically what you do Monday through Friday?
Yeah, look, we wouldn't be here still living and thriving if I was just chilling and you were working all alone. I mean, look, guys, he was supposed to be back here January 3rd, right? And we started our season again January 4th. I knew before he left that wasn't gonna happen. I knew it wasn't gonna happen. So, who steps up, holds down the fort for a week and a half, everything dolo. Which
Shout out to Coach Ethan for stepping up because Coach Ryan couldn't do it by himself.
Absolutely. But he had to follow lead somewhere. But as a young buck, that's one of those things that happens. If you're a rookie on a team or freshman on a team, anything, you just got to take the hazing, right? But you also got to make sure you show up and remind them that, hey, I'm here. You can haze, but you got about 6 more months of that until playoffs start. You need me. No, but speaking of basketball, I don't know. I think people know this. I don't know, but James Harden switched teams.
I think the entire world may know by now.
I think Jay Harden switched teams. A lot of things transpired. Like every day, we were just sitting. We were trying to figure out when we were going to start the podcast again. And I was like, man, they just giving us more and more to talk about. But from the overweight, so they said, the out of shape, so they said. The last press conference there to where he said it was the first time he spoke publicly about the situation in Houston where he said it's something that just can't be fixed. The team isn't good enough. To Boogie and Wall feeling disrespected about it. To about 48 hours or 24 hours later, him being traded to the Brooklyn Nets. And James Harden is an MVP, a scoring champion. 30, 10, and 10s is regular deal. Clint Capella, you got your contract because you played there. He got Clint Capella paid, right? PJ Tucker too. A lot of those different guys.
Shout out to PJ Tucker. He's still waiting for his contract.
Yes, well, he is, and it's gonna be tough now that he doesn't have Harden there. But a lot of people, had their best moments there with him. But Harden is a net. He's there. Victor Oladipo is a Rocket. And I'm only going to name names that are going to play because I remember Dante Exum's draft night, and they were comparing him to potentially being like MJ. And me and my guys are like, yo, these international scouts are going crazy. What's my man's name? Is it Fran? No, it's not Fran. Who does the international?
I can't remember.
You know his face, though. It's not Fran Fraschilla, is it?
No. I know who you're talking about, but it's not him. But either I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
That's a terrible comparison.
Yes. No, he was terrible. But we have that. Karis LeVert is a pacer. And then a bunch of draft picks got shifted around. And then the Cavaliers got Jared Allen and Torian Prince. Talk to me, OG.
Let me just say this first with all the picks that Brooklyn gave up.
Yeah.
They're putting all their money into now. Everything. If they don't win a championship, it was a bust.
But I think it's not a better bet though. Like, what can you really hold in draft picks sometimes when you know for sure you can get James Harden?
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about the amount of picks. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Because when you think about it, you're expecting them to get to the finals this year. If they don't win it this year, the average fan is going to say, "Dang, they fell short."
Yeah.
But the guys who know basketball will be like, "That was right on pace."
Yeah,
that's right on pace. They just need a taste of it, and then they'll come back next year with a vengeance. But I'm saying that in terms of giving up all that you gave up, and you gave up your interior defense when you gave the kid to Cavaliers.
Jared Allen.
That what is your window? Let's be honest. Kyrie, Kevin Durant, James Harden, James Harris from Virginia. Joe Harris. I'm sorry, Joe Harris. Dinwiddie will be back next year. That'd be a big plus. But what is the window? Is it 2 years? Could it stretch to 3 years? Just because with those salaries, who could they possibly bring in next year as an addition?
But I believe they have 3 roster spots left.
I know, but I'm talking about the term.
What's the free agent?
I'm talking about the types of money available that they can bring somebody in.
Let's see. I wonder what the free agent pool is right now, because that'll be able to tell a lot. And let's see, we'll have Ethan look that up and pull it in. But I think when you talk about Harden, you talk about James Harden, and we watch basketball heavily. We watch it extensively, so we know that James Harden is a very, very, very good playmaker. And I think that was unlocked because of Mike D'Antoni. And people aren't saying much about it. I might have seen Richard Jefferson or maybe one other person say it, or Kenny Smith maybe. But Mike D'Antoni is on the staff at Brooklyn.
Yeah.
He's on the staff. That's MVP coach right there for Harden. That's Harden's best years as an assist. And I believe Harden has led the league in assists in the fourth quarter. Well, he's been one of the leading assist getters there. Right? So now you pair him with that man, Mr. KD. KD tore his Achilles last year. You know that? He averaged 30 right now. This is a different specimen right there. So you pair him with that. You pair him with great shooting on the outside, and Joe Harris. And Joe Harris is formidable outside of just shooting. You can put him on some pin downs. He can finish around the rim a little bit. He's a solid little rebound defender. Like he's a lethal shooter.
He's a good player.
But he's a solid all around player. You got Shaman. You got a couple young guys around there. You got Bruce Brown. I do think they're hedging their bet. They're betting on DeAndre Jordan. I don't know. I like Jeff Green, though. I like Jeff Green a lot with them. Jeff Green, he was their third leading scorer a couple of times in these most recent games. But I think at the end of the game, you have the ball as a leading guard, as a point guard, you have the ball in Harden's hands and you're good. What you think? And this is me assuming that we'll talk about Kyrie in the next segment, but this is assuming as you got Kyrie on the floor, you got Harden on the floor, and you got KD on the floor. For me, I'm putting the ball in Harden's hands as a lead guard to initiate offense.
As a coach, I'm putting the ball in Harden's hands too.
Mm-hmm.
My only issue is that a lot of Harden's playmaking comes from him pounding the ball so much in Houston, because it was basically a 5-out offense. Even though Capella was there, and you could say 4 out, 1 in, he was really a non-factor, and they spaced him out. He wasn't getting the ball anyway. He was, just stay in the dunker spot. But is he going to be able to continue to be successful once you get into the playoffs, pounding the ball and making somebody react, getting by that person, drawing the second guy, and then kicking to a Kyrie on the left or a KD on the right? And that's my thing, because the Houston offense always became stagnant in playoffs, and Harden always suffered in terms of his numbers.
So this is where I think the difference comes in, because one, even though it's not proven yet, we're still trying to figure this out. I do believe that Steve Nash is going to have an influence on how that works. Because even with the few games that we've watched so far, the ball has been moving. KD, I remember KD and Harden both have been making extra passes off the dribble, less dribbles, moving it a little bit more fluently. I mean, in his first game, he had a 30-point triple-double with 10-plus assists.
Yeah, against Orlando.
Yes. So, I think the difference is what he's saying. Right? You made that effort to force your way out of Houston, right? And you said it's because right now you got the money, right? You hit those individual accolades, but now you want to win a ring. And, they asked him about sacrificing and all those things, and he said, "I'm a hooper." We resonate with that because, if you're a hooper, you can pair me with anybody. Yeah, I respect that. And I think that the anchor he has in KD changes a lot of those things, because I think Harden is a really, really smart basketball player. So I don't know. I don't think that he's like some other superstars who, they may want things a little bit harder. But I think he knows it's going to be easier using KD and having KD there, because you can't do no double teaming. And then when you have Kyrie there, you can't do much double teaming on either one of them. So what do you do then? So I think the best decision.
I'm not saying he's not a smart player. I'm not saying he's not a talented player. I'm just saying that the mode in which he gets other people involved, it's a little stagnant. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. I just need to see something different. That's all.
Yeah.
Right now it looks good because it's the regular season. We all know when it's regular season, a lot of times coaches don't focus on certain things, and basically they let them play. But when you get in a playoff situation, then they start to take certain things away, and I want to see the adjustment. That's all I'm saying. Because we're not talking about we're not questioning the greatness and brilliance of James Harden. That's undeniable. We're talking about what is he willing to do to take the next step in the playoffs. And in addition to that, we have to talk about the defense.
Well, yeah, that was going to be next, because I don't think I wanted to bring that up next, because they're small now. Right, without DeAndre Jordan, they're really undersized now. And if you got Kyrie on the floor too with all of them, they're undersized. KD, you're big, and so you understand you don't have much girth down there. So that is something we're going to have to see change. But, you can win that way, especially when you got there. But what I was going to say was interesting is in the post-game interview, we talked about schemes, and as we go on through the podcast, because, you forgot more basketball than a lot of people know, right? So we'll talk about X's and O's and schemes so people can kind of understand how technical basketball really is, how much of an art it is. But you can't really do too many things against this Brooklyn Nets team because of the weapons that they do have, right?
Correct.
So I did remember in a post-game interview, Harden said, there are only about 3 or 4 different things that a team can do against us. Right. So right now, we're working out the kinks to figure it out in this season, right, in the regular season. So that way, when we get to the playoffs, we're prepared for it. So already I'm saying that, okay, maybe mentally, he's sounding good, but I've never heard Harden talk this much. I've never seen him smile this much either. And then he left Houston in that nightlife. We won't say exactly what it is because there are kids listening. But he left Houston and he smiled.
Yeah. Listen, there's no question that they are a nightmare for the opposing coach in terms of game planning for them. I think for myself and I think for other people, I think the question is, we're just waiting to see if an old dog can change his tricks. That's the only thing. If James Harden decides to continue to play this way, and Kyrie does come back, and Kyrie decides to, be off the ball, they're going to the finals. No question about that. Well, if they do those things, the defense isn't as much of an issue until they get to the finals.
Yeah. I just want to make one statement. I've seen a lot of people say that how is it going to work when all three of those guys are ball dominant? I just want to be clear. Kevin Durant is not ball dominant. You just have to give him the ball. That's all that is. KD doesn't need a lot. KD's one of the most efficient players I've ever seen at 7 foot. And there's going to be time when we really have a breakdown of like how great that walking bucket is at 7 foot, and the way he moves, the way he plays, like as a 2 guard type of feel, and it's just different. But KD's not ball dominant. Like KD got 40 points the other night on like 18 shots or something like that. Like you get 18, and you guys gonna be high scoring anyway. There's still enough shots over there for Harden because Harden got his. There's still enough for Kyrie. And those guys are high percentage scorers as well. It's not like they're volume shooters, some other guys, I won't name names, but they don't need 15, 20 shots to get a dub because they get to the free throw line too. So that's going to be interesting. That's a different weapon. I saw somebody saying they're not really excited for this big three like they were the other ones. Like,
no, it's going to be exciting. This is box office.
Like, what do you rate this amongst those trios of stars? Well, before playing, just off skill set, because I know we look at things different based on winning. But when you got guys like, of course, Clay, Steph, and KD, who else is it? Bosh, D Wade, and LeBron. You got Magic, Kareem, Worthy. What else? I know I'm missing a couple.
Robert Parrish, Mikhail Bird.
Yes.
There's a lot of them. You're talking about Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West,
Elgin
Baylor. There's been a lot of. They're right up there.
Yeah,
they're right up there. The only difference is between them and the other groups that they haven't had a chance to finish their book yet.
Yeah,
that's it. They're still writing their chapters.
Yeah,
but this is box office. This is when you'll pay for a ticket.
Absolutely. I'm there, high price. In Brooklyn, we go hard. I love it. But that leads to a question though, because as I said, Kyrie, I want to talk about Kyrie here. We're gonna go basketball first, because that's what Kyrie is. Kyrie's a hooper, right? Well, that's one of the things Kyrie is a hooper. So we'll start there. So this is the question that my group chat and I have had already. We talk about is, where do you put Kyrie? Not where you think Kyrie's going to go, but you from a coaching standpoint, you go into Kyrie, and where are you going to put him?
On the floor.
Yeah, of course on the floor. Yeah, on the floor. You got those three guys. Let's say on the floor you got KD, you got Joe Harris, you got Harden, Kyrie, and let's throw in DeAndre Jordan. All right, KD, your stretch 4.
It's no brainer. I'm putting him at the 2 because that's where he's had the most success in his career. And I'm going to talk to him and say, hey, Kyrie, this is not a knock on you in terms of you not having the ball and being, quote unquote, a traditional point guard. It's a compliment to you being the best player that you can be and helping us win. Him at the 2, he might be a little undersized on the other end, but on the offensive end, you got problems.
Yeah, and he don't have to guard the 2, right? But all right, you just said what you would say to him, and that shit not working. Listen. You always tell me forget that, get right to it. You're not going into no player meeting or anything with around a team because you don't talk like that to us anyway.
I know.
Like and Kyrie specifically, because you got to approach it differently, right? Yes. And it's curious. Like, people don't get to see how coaches think and how they think about their approach and how they talk and stuff. So from your standpoint, like how would you set the scene and talk as a pro too? Because that's a different talk. What would you do?
It's two different avenues here. One is the avenue where you're somebody such as a super well-respected veteran coach like a Phil Jackson, Chuck Daly, or something like that, where you can kind of speak your mind and that player will respect you and the organization backs you up. But you can be a rookie coach and you got to go in there with kid gloves on it because, one, he makes 4 times, 5 times more than you make, and you're a rookie coach. They're going to get rid of you before they get rid of him. So that's what I'm saying. You're going to go in there and talk to him about what he can do to help this team to the best of his ability. And that's how you got to approach it if you're Steve Nash. And I gotta look at it that way because Steve Nash is the current coach.
But Steve Nash is Steve Nash. And I know you say that's not the coaching thing, but that does play a difference. I listen to you different because you played.
No, I don't even want to talk about as a player. I'm talking about as general perception of a fan watching the game. We all know how they already perceive Steve Nash by the statements that they've already made. Because in their mind, they're thinking that Steve Nash has the job because of them. But in all reality is Steve Nash has the job for 2 reasons. 70% of it is KD wanted him there. 30% of it is because Steve Nash was a great player and he was a great point guard in terms of distributing the ball and getting everybody in their spots and making them happy. And they're thinking it can translate over to Kyrie. So that's the situation.
Okay, but let's say you are 2-time MVP, Steve Nash, right? Everybody say you one of the best ever in the pick and roll.
Yep.
Right? Like undoubtedly, you stole one of Kobe's MVPs.
Okay.
Rest in peace, my guy. But you got Amari his best years. You got Sean Marion his best years. Matrix. You got a lot of guys at best years. You were able to manage the game differently. You had high skill set with the ball in your hands. Similar type of skills to what Kyrie got. So when you go into your room, it's just you guys. Maybe you pull them, y'all go get a steak dinner, you invite them to the house, you sit them down. How are you going to talk to them?
Here we go again, man. If I'm Steve Nash, I'm a totally different, I'm JK now.
Yeah.
See, listen, man, this is what you're going to do. You know what I'm saying? This is what we need you to do. This is what you're capable of doing. This is what we're asking of you to do.
Yeah.
And if you do these things, you're going to accomplish all of your goals, all the team goals, and everybody's going to be happy. That's how I'm going to approach it. And if you don't want to accept this role, we can easily move on without you. That's just how I operate because, you're talking about me being in that position, and I happen to have the credentials and the cachet of experience as a Steve Nash. Then me, I'm walking. I don't care.
Yeah.
But you know me, that's just me though.
Yeah.
But Steve,
I want to hear that though. I want to hear that.
I got real censored here. The real me would go in there and say something else and do something else. But
my guy back home, my guy OJ said, "Let it fly, King."
Nah, I can't do it. OJ don't know where we at. Shout out to OJ. I appreciate that. When we come stateside in summer, it'd be a little different, but not now. So
yeah. Keep it tight.
But no, Steve Nash, and Steve Nash, even as a player, was never outspoken.
Yeah, I remember. Look, let's say it blatantly, right? Because I'm calling you out. You said that coaching staff is soft.
It's soft. It is. Let's face it. And I'm not saying it's not a knock against them or anything, but it's just their personality. Coach D'Antoni has been a head coach, a successful head coach in the league for years. But who
else is on the Nets coaching staff? Amari
Stoudemire. And I wanted to say it was a guy from Kentucky. I couldn't remember his name. So
Jock Vaughn?
No.
Jock Vaughn was
still there. Yeah. So, but it's a quiet, mild-mannered staff. I mean, it's nobody outspoken, and nobody gonna necessarily, yank you up by your collar and say, "Hey, man, this is what you need to do." Blah blah blah. But they are who they are.
No Doc Rivers is what you were saying?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, I see it. I'm anxious to see it because it's beautiful, man. I do think that's going to be interesting way. I think they need to add a few pieces for sure though. They definitely got to get that going. But you're gonna see. Royal Ivy, that's who it was. He was talking about
Oh, I mean,
M.A. Udoka. Um, yeah.
and Royal Ivy, that's one of KD's boys from Texas.
Yeah, I remember. I think he was in OKC before too, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure. But so when we get there and we talk about Kyrie again, because as we speak today, Kyrie just had his, I think the day before, the 19th, he had his first press conference addressing the media. I know, Coach, you saw the video.
I did.
I got some reflections on it. I think mine are going to be a lot different than what most people have been saying. But what do you see?
But you're saying your reflection is going to be somewhat different from what everybody else is saying. What are your reflections?
Well, for me, it wasn't more so what he was saying, and I haven't seen anybody talk about this yet. And maybe I missed a few things because we're 9 hours ahead over here. But it was his body language. For me, the way he was sitting. Well, he wasn't even sitting. The way he was laying on there. It's a. I say this jokingly sometimes, but I'm dead serious when I tell it. I have female friends, lady friends, women friends that I care about, and my friends. And they always ask me these things, and I always tell them, "Yo, be wary of a guy who has weird facial hair." You know what I'm saying? The guy that mustache, like, why you got your mustache like that and everything else in the 5 o'clock shadow, right? But then you know how women will cut their hair in like drastic situations or so like that. I'm looking at Kyrie, and for me, he looks healthy to a sin, but that shave that he got there, and then he's leaning on the table like there, and the gestures he's talking. And for me, for what I was taught, what I've learned, and different areas that I've been, that nonverbal communication says a lot about where they are with things, right? So he said a lot of great things, but for me, what was more telling was his posture at that moment. I think that uh, there are some things beyond basketball that are pushing him, bothering him. Uh, there he's on some soul searching. You spent and I get it too because we play basketball and we worked hard at it, but to get to where a lot of these people got, they had to get to extreme hours, right? They had to put in a lot of time, and some of those people don't spend time like figuring other parts out about themselves. So now that he finally got everything, and he's looking for meaning in his life, it may be like, man, I am a superstar now, so I got responsibilities. So the limelight is on everything that I do. But on the other end, my 28 years of existence has been all basketball, and I'm sitting here rich, and my people are going through what they're going through. So I think he was struggling with that, but as a superstar lens, though. So people aren't forgiving with that,
right?
You know what I'm saying? You are who you are, as Stephen A. Smith said. How it may sound terrible, but you're getting paid 30 mils, and like we want to see you hoop. That's what you do. We want to see you hoop. Right?
It's tough because everybody that understands mental illness or not even mental illness, but somebody going through challenging times. You have your ups and your downs, and you sometimes you make moves that are uncharacteristic of you. But I think everybody's at a point now with Kyrie that we just want to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the bottom line. If you're going to come out and you're going to give us 40% of what's going on, you're going to give us hints, and we got to kind of figure out what it is, and we got to guess. Then people are going to say 50% of people are going to say you're crazy. 50% of people are going to say you just don't want to play anymore, and you don't want to own up to it. So that's the only thing. Like for me, you and I have gone back and forth about Kyrie's actions and his words, what he said in the last 2 or 3 years, and I've never been alarmed about his mental state until now. Mm-hmm. Now I feel like there is something actually going on with him, and I'm saying because he's at a place now financially that he's going to be okay, that I think he needs to take time away from the game for real. Yeah. And be fair to yourself, be fair to your team, be fair to the organization, be fair to the fans. And people will be a little more forgiving in terms of what takes place now. But right now, everybody's guessing because you're not giving us any indication of what's going on. That's the only thing.
That's the tug and the pull, right? Because he didn't pick up the basketball hoping and wishing and dreaming of having to have his entire life on display to people, having to say that you're obligated to tell people what this is, that is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just think about why hoopers hoop, why they get into that space. So adjusting to that, because that's like, I don't know what it's like to be Kyrie Irving or LeBron or whoever else, or even more so Kyrie, because Kyrie isn't a guy who's coming out like you expected him to be, like KD and all those other guys with just limelight, because he's not a generational talent like a KD or Bron. He's not that boring special type. No, but you talk about limelight from the beginning, like a different space, right?
I'm about to explain it to you.
But I don't think you can explain to it, because I can understand what Kyrie is having to subject himself to where people feel like they gotta know everything about your life.
No one has to know everything about your life, but we're talking about. Listen, here's the thing. With playing in the NBA, NFL, you're a major golfer, tennis player, what have you. You get the fame, you get the fortune, and unfortunately, you have people prying in your life. That's just part of the whole thing. And nobody necessarily wants that, but we all know it's a part of the job. Come on, man, we know that. And Kyrie is a guy that the moment I saw him in high school, when a friend of mine who was also a top guard in Jersey said, "Hey, this kid is the next cat."
Yeah.
I saw him play one time, and I wasn't the only person. Everybody in America said, he's that dude.
For sure.
To go to Duke and have Coach K change his philosophy, you're that dude.
Yeah.
To get drafted in the NBA lottery pick, number one, after playing like 11 games, you're that dude.
Hold on. Kwame Brown was number one pick in the NBA.
I'm sorry.
Anthony Bennett.
But he was number one pick for the
I'm listening.
What I'm saying is that to only play that many games and you're a small guard, you are a generational talent. The only issue is that you just have to accept what you are. You are this generation's Allen Iverson without the hair, without the the urban attire and things like that. You're the more, how can I say it?
The Duke version.
You're the Duke. That's perfect. You're the Duke version. Allen Iverson right now. Yes.
Even though I think John Moran is coming for that, but yeah.
And not the Duke version though, but but I'm saying embrace it. And so if that's not. If you're not, and we can't say that you didn't know what comes with it because your pops was a hooper.
Yeah, but coach, this is what I'm saying. I don't think any of this has anything to do with basketball. I'm just talking about like you get. I mean, I get to this point too, to where sometimes I struggle with stuff with people feeling like they're entitled to hear something from me, or be in a certain space of mind, and I'm just here. I'm not who I am. I'm not Kyrie, right? Like, no matter of who you are or where it is or whatever, what fame you may have gotten, whether you want it or not, like, you are still human in a certain space. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And then, like, if you really, 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 really struggling with some stuff, and somebody that don't care about it, they'll take your words and put it to wherever else it is, no matter what you tell them. It goes this way and that way. And on top of that, we don't know what his family may be dealing with and stuff.
True.
But you get that million, like, you think about, we deal with what we deal with as black people, people of color, or whatever you want to say, melanated people, right? Without money, right? So some people think they get their money and some of those problems are solved. Then they get a rude awakening or whatever. So then you get to that same spot, right? You up there, you in the middle of all this stuff here, you figuring stuff out, grandma's died and everything else. And you hear me like, yo, people like, you worried about what I'm doing, but none of you are sitting here stepping out helping with all these real issues that we have here. I'm doing it daily.
Listen, I get
and nobody's
that.
there.
I get that. And listen, everybody out there, I want you to understand. I understand. I'm telling you, I understand. What I'm saying to you is, since the beginning of time, there's never been anybody who has been in a high position of whether fame, fortune, or power, or whatever, that didn't go through these things. And all I'm saying is that, and I think Stephen A. Smith kind of alluded to this, is that if you've gotten to that point and you're not happy, luckily for you, you're at a point where you can say, you know what? I step back for a minute. And all people want to know is just like, what's going on? And the thing is, the way society is now, as forgiving as society is and as understanding as society is if you let everybody know just a hint, hey, I'm going through something, I need a moment. You know what? We wouldn't even be talking about Kyrie in a negative light right now. But the mere fact that he's come, he's gone. He's come, he's gone, and we don't know, but yet he's super articulate, very intelligent, and he's talking to the media in a certain way. It's almost as if he's toying with us as fans who actually, whether he would believe it or not, or whether the average person would believe it or not, we do care if you are a human being. And that's all I'm saying. And I think that's what a lot of other people are saying. Now, there are some idiots out there that only want you to play. And you know what? That's okay. You know why? Because they do pay high price tickets to come to the game and whatnot, and you make a super stupid salary. But the end of the day is you have to make a choice, make a decision. Whether do you want to stay and deal with it or not, or do you want to step away from it? It's just like me in an average day life. I told you, I came here, things were a little crazy, and I was able to maintain because I trust you. Mm-hmm. I like you. I value you. If you weren't here, I'd be gone. You know why? I have the luxury of being able to go anywhere I want, and I can work. Mm-hmm. I won't be rich, but I can work and have peace of mind. And so that's what people are saying. Kyrie has the opportunity to stop for a moment and have peace of mind. And do you think Kevin Durant will hold it against him? No. Homie, go get yourself together if you need it. James Harden would come in and say, you know what? I got it until you get back. The Nets organization would say, you know what? We fully understand. We'll take care of it till you get back. That's all people are saying. Mm-hmm. That's what an adult does. Whether you have certain issues or not, as long as your whereabouts have not left you, you're able to do that. And that's all people are saying. That's all I'm saying.
True. Well, agreed. Like very, very valid, very valid. Understood. And I do believe that he did, bring some things upon himself with the tug and pull with the media, PR statement and all those things. And he did hold himself accountable within.
He's right about that.
Yeah. And he held himself accountable within that last press conference, saying that it's partly him not opening up. So with that being said, the first game back tonight, could be his first game back tonight, and we're recording on a Wednesday, January 20, and it's against the Cavs. Over or under? Over 25 or under?
Under.
I'm going over.
Under.
I'm going 25.
Those young boys from Cleveland, they're coming.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that because we're going to talk about that later. I'm going to give them a little bit more time. But I remember my boy BG, he's a huge Wizards fan, right? So me and my guy RJ, we've been telling him in a group chat for probably since 2012, because he also liked the Nuggets, because we're hometown guys. He liked Ty Lawson when Ty Lawson was there. We was like, look, bro, if you go ahead and switch your team to the Nuggets now, we get it. We'll accept it. You can put the application in. We understand. I mean, it's the Nuggets. And, fast forward, being a Nuggets fan right now wouldn't be a bad idea. We started in 2012, right? But he was like, nah, I'm Wiz. So when they made the trade, right, and and Russ got there. We're gonna get back to Kyrie in a second. Russ got back there, and I was like, me and my guy RJ was like, he was hyped. He was like, look, y'all gonna finish 10th in the East. And you wanna know why? Because your starting center is Thomas Bryant. I hope he gets back from injury and recovers fully and healthy. But I was like, that's not gonna work, big dog. It ain't. And I said, look, the Cavaliers got two young bulls with Garland and Colin Sexton who can go. And they've been working. And when you get to work through your reps, you got 82 games to work through the fire as a pro with minutes. You're not paying 10 minutes behind somebody. You playing full on 35, 40, and then you get the full off season to get prepared. And then you got Andre Drummond, who's still giving 30s and 20s, playing well down there. You pair that with a good group of guards, man. You got Larry Nance,
Larry Nance coming out of the bench, who's bouncing.
And he knocking down a trade ball. And we're talking about the East. I was like, listen, they're going to be better. I'm watching them. I ain't going to say too much yet. I'm watching them because I'm watching Zach LaVine and the Bulls too. But we're going to get there later. We got to get them like 25, 30 games before we break it down. But yeah, I got Kyrie over 25 tonight.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm under.
They got him under? All right, we'll hold you to that. We'll have to tell Ethan to make sure we double back and check on that next week. But last thing for the next segment. Okay. Game 7. Eastern Conference Finals against Philadelphia. Tied up. 7 seconds left. Nets ball. You call the timeout. You got the ball at half court. Who takes the last shot?
Come on, man. Let's stop playing. Stop playing with me. It's not. Listen, man. There's one person on the planet right now that all 30 coaches would say, we want this person. Listen. And that's even over Steve Kerr saying over Steph Curry. KD. He's 7 foot. He's a 7'2" guard. He's a 7-foot George Gervin with a jumper from 3. Come on, man. Stop playing.
So KD take it. Not whoever hot?
KD's taking it. Because whoever's hot is a situation where you can completely get him in an isolation situation where Kyrie was when he hit the shot against Golden State. That's different. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about it's game 7 and you want to make sure you get that shot off.
Yeah.
KD's getting that shot off.
Yes.
And it's a clean look. Yeah. Because not only because he's 7 foot, he's able to create space with his handle. It's
different. It's different.
You can't defend that, man.
And he's always on balance too when he's making those moves. It's funny. I think I saw a tweet and CJ McCollum had quoted and said, "Man, something like, man, Harden's smiling hard as hell since he got to Brooklyn." And Iggy Iguodala said, "Yo, you ever played with KD?
Yeah.
That man a god. I'm smiling too." That man is different. Talking about people in the league were saying, it don't matter what you do to KD, you can't alter his shot. You don't affect his shot. No way.
It's 2 things. 3 actually. We talked about him creating space with the handle. 2, which he's 7 foot, so his release point is higher than anybody on earth. Mm-hmm. And then 3, he kind of slightly cocks it behind the back of his head for a moment. So you can't block that.
Yeah, and Kobe, I remember listening to Kobe RP. I always bring him up when I can, but Kobe talked about how the first year or two of, the first year maybe of KD's career, he always would, there was certain things that he could do to push KD one way because he knew he was going to bring the ball up off a pull-up across his body. And he said he could stop him a little bit there. He said, but once he figured that out, and he got that summer working out, he said it was a wrap. Yeah. It ain't even close no more. That's that mad scientist type stuff. Those are things we'll get into later with video when we can break down what it's really like. But, okay, KD take the last shot. I'm going there, too. That ain't never a question. It ain't never a question for me.
You got to be a 10-year NBA coach to know that.
Well, sometimes. You saw what Pete Carroll did when he had
Shout out to Beast Mode. I feel you, man. You could. Oh man,
I didn't mean to bring it up though, but shout out to Kyrie though. Shout out to Kyrie. All in all, it's just good to see him back. See him back in the eye. It'll be good to see him on the court and get him back to the game, playing, having some fun. Um, us enjoying that dribble arsenal. The art.
It's a joy to watch, man.
Yeah, him getting to the rim, finishing. I would love to see the passer he develops into because I think that's untapped potential there. But shout out to Kyrie, man. We hope you're good. And also too, like this is a personal, selfish thing, but I need new basketball shoes, right? And I always wore Kobe's, like that's my thing, right? But you can't really get Kobe's like that anymore without getting resale. So the only ones on the market that aren't bulky and are kind of lightweight are Kyrie's and Paul George shoes. And I'm like, man, I gotta make a decision.
Pandemic P.
You know what I'm saying? Who's been balling out, you know what I'm saying? But we'll get to that another day.
He always does.
Yeah. But speaking of that, because there are a lot of NBA OGs who call people out. Some people, you gotta look at sideways. But there's one that whenever he says something, you really gotta look at it and be like, it's the Diesel, Shaq, Big Shaq,
the big Aristotle.
Share Shaq,
man.
Dr. Shaquille O'Neal. So, and this is something that happened a few weeks ago, but it was hilarious to me. It was hilarious to me. And if you're a real hooper, I've seen people comment on this and they say different things. But if you're a real hooper, you side with Shaq. You side with Shaq for sure. And Shaq was, he was taking his shots at Rudy Gobert. He was saying, I think he said something to the tune of like, all we got to do is tell kids you just need to average 11 points, 10 rebounds, and to get $200 million. Is that what it is now? And some people were saying that shot is unnecessary at Rudy Gobert, but come on, man. It's facts, man.
Listen, people take what Shaq says and paint him as a villain because he's 7 foot, 300 pounds at the time, and when he was playing, he was a gorilla, he was a monster, he was a terror on the court. But in all, Shaq likes these guys, but he's just talking about the game itself in terms of he's saying to the league, you gotta stop giving money away to people who haven't earned it. And I know that people will say that people will always use this as an excuse right now. Well, it's inflation. It's the money. It's the TV money. No. Just because if you hit the lottery tomorrow for $900 million, which I think that's the lottery right now, are you going to necessarily just give $500 million away because you didn't deserve it? No. I mean, if you can get it, you're going to take it. But these guys are getting this money, and as the average fan, we're not getting our money's worth. We talked about Brooklyn being box office. Utah ain't box office.
Nah.
And we're not doing, you don't have to, your game doesn't have to be sexy like KD's. It doesn't have to be spectacular like Zion's, whatever. But man.
All right, but Coach, look. All right.
Stop.
So look, Shaq's best years were in Orlando and LA. You
okay.
Know that, right? And he averaged about 27 and 12 in both places.
Okay.
And we know that's 27 and 12 leaving the free throws at the line.
Yep.
Right? So it could have been about 35 both times, right? Rudy's at 11. Oh, maybe I think his high is like 15 points, maybe, and 13 rebounds or so.
His high.
Yeah.
Not his average.
Yeah, his high. I think his career
Shaq has a high of like 60 points one night.
Yeah, his career average is 11 and 11.
Okay.
So this is what my thing is if you look at the top 5 centers right now, they get paid.
Okay.
Right. We have Karl Anthony Towns. We have Rudy Gobert. We have Joel Embiid. We have the Joker, and we have Gobert and Bam. Right. So the Joker is getting about $32 million a year. Embiid's getting about $32 million a year. Right? Cat is getting about $32 million a year. He's the highest paid center. Well, no, he's $32 million a year. And then Rudy Gobert is getting almost $35 million per year for 11 and 11. And then Bam is getting 28. And then you got Clint Capella and those. I think Clint getting maybe $100 million for his 4 years, something like that. But when I look at that, those you go Joker, you go Embiid, you go Cat. Shaq is hard on all of them except for the Joker.
Sure.
Except for the Joker.
Yeah, because you know why? Because Joker overachieves.
Yes. But when I look at that, I look at people saying Shaq is, Rudy Gobert, actually, I hate when people take this approach, right? Rudy Gobert was upset that Shaq was going there. And you know what he went to? I hate to see another brother tear another brother down.
On.
Man, shut up. You from France.
You know what I'm saying?
You ain't dealing with
I hate to see another brother take COVID not as seriously as you do and get everybody infected on
it. Man. Cut it out. You should have got choke slam for that. But this is the thing, let's say since 2008, right? Because I'll say Pau Gasol and KG and Tim Duncan were the last effective bigs, and Pau was the only one that'll say he a true center, right? But since then, the game has completely changed. They're almost to where the center position is like a dinosaur,
right?
And when I look at Shaq, be hard on Embiid, be hard on Cat, be hard on Gobert. And he's telling those guys, put him in the rim and finish him. It's because when you don't do that, you create small ball. Yep. They eliminate the need for your position. Right. Now they try to tell you that it's not formidable. It's not a successful formula to have a big that's on the block. And you're not doing anything to prove otherwise. Right? Before this, the best players of all time we talked about, the conversations was Bill Russell, it's Wilt, it's Kareem. You got Shaq in there, you have Akeem Olajuwon, all bigs. Now you don't talk about them at all. And the bigs that's supposed to be leading that way, they're not dominating. So Shaq calling them out for it.
Yep. And that's what I was going to say when I was mentioning that Shaq likes these guys. He's really just trying to push you.
Yeah.
He's just trying to help you get better because he knows that the big man position is dying out. And that's not how this game should be played because, the closer you are to 10 feet, the more of an advantage you should have. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like Gino Auriemma for UConn women's basketball. Mm-hmm. People give him a hard time because he always talks. He's a little arrogant, but there's a guy who coached me, shout out to Steve Key, coached me in Germany. He was the head coach for the Chicago Sky. Mentioned me one time that Gino was always like that because he's trying to build the game of basketball for women. Because he said, you know what? Everybody says that we're a juggernaut. Everybody says that Coach Pat Summitt is a juggernaut at Tennessee. Texas was a juggernaut at times. Stanford was a juggernaut. Sylvia Hatchett at North Carolina were juggernauts. How about you beat us and you build the game of basketball up as a whole for women? Mm-hmm. And that's what Shaq's trying to do for the NBA, for the 5 spot, because like you said, it's going into small ball and those guys are basically deemed as useless.
Yeah.
And so now, even though you're being deemed as useless as going to small ball, you're still getting a check. So that should be more motivation to say, you know what? Let me prove I'm worth this money. And so I think he's just trying to help him, man.
Yeah, I agree with him, man. I'm right with him because that's all analytics. Because that's something from a guy who's a cornball sitting upstairs watching a computer doing stats with those little new softwares that do things for you and everything. And they completely negate the idea of presence and what it feels like to have Shaq in the paint or on the court. And you can't put that at any percentage. You know what I'm saying? If Embiid dominates a game, if you let him be who he is, that changes everything.
So, it's funny you mention that because when Shaq played, the only guys that came through the lane dunking stuff, Jordan, Dominique, the special guys. If you were not special and you were just above average, You weren't coming down the lane if it's Shaq down there, Yao Ming down there,
Alonzo,
Deadlift Shrimp. What's my man from Seattle, the Rain Man, Sean Kemp.
Yep.
They just control the paint a little different. And I'm saying that because Rudy Gobert got banged on like recently after he signed the contract and by guards.
Man, he get danced on frequently.
And that's just, that shouldn't happen.
If you can see Coach's face right now,
you just like those guys are supposed to be saying, when I come down the lane and Rudy's down there, he's either gonna punch it into the fifth row or he's gonna put me down.
I think he cried one year when he didn't win Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, didn't they have to do some? They had to tweak the voting to get him in the All-Star game one time.
Listen, man, that's what I'm saying. Cut it out. Like, we trying to make you better. Go get there, man. Go get there. Like,
and let me say this to everybody: if you got $200 million, why are you worried about what anybody says? Just play then.
Because you know it's a fact. When somebody got to respond to certain things, they're insecure about it.
True.
And we're watching. We haven't done a college basketball breakdown or anything yet because we haven't had time to check it out. But we do know one cat, Hunter Dickinson. Right?
Yep.
We've been knowing Hunter, for me, since I think like 6 years old.
6, 7 years old, right? On our bench.
Right? And just around when he was wearing those goggles and glasses and those things. And Hunter right now is 7 foot. DeMatha kid from Alexandria, DeMatha kid at Michigan, killing it right now. He's a 7-footer. He's a dominant guy, right? There's a lot of things he can do that he hasn't shown yet, but he's going to be a leaguer for sure. And when you think about we talk about bridging the gap, and we give the flowers to John Thompsons of the world, John Chaney's, and all those OGs who came before us, and how they paved the way. You leave something there for your guys to come follow, right? So right now, all those bigs that are dominating in college basketball or whatever, because everything is trendy. If you don't dominate, if you're not making it seem like, oh man, we gotta go get one like him. Right? You make it tough for them. Now they got to go do different things. They got to go, G League. They got to go overseas. And that's just because you are handling your business there. So shout out to Hunter, man.
Yeah,
we want a lot of those younger guys coming up that are 7-footers that got to follow behind you, Rudy Gobert. They're watching and they're hoping you handle business so they can get real paydays and get some endorsements like Shaq, man.
Yeah. And Hunter, man, don't forget, you owe me a lot of pizza that I bought you when you was on our bench when you was younger, too.
Yeah, gonna make that call to Miss Kathy. Shout out to my guy, Ben.
Ben and Grant.
Yeah. But let's get into that young buck stuff. We talk about the rookies, the NBA rookies. This is and I don't know if this story will be told because this year has been full of wild stuff already. But this is an interesting time to be a rookie in the NBA, right? You don't have any summer league beforehand, being a rookie in your pre-draft situation, your training camp situation, just everything, and then COVID protocols to deal with, and having to battle that, You might have a vet trying to help you, but your vet don't have any clue what's going on right now. He's trying to figure it out with you too, right?
Yeah, unless one of your vets is a guy that was overseas when the swine flu or something jumped off. He can't. He can't help you. He can't help you right now. So everybody's figuring it out on their own, and as a guy coming straight into the league right now. Man, if you're able to navigate this and still perform, salute.
Word. Especially, you're a top 5 pick, top 10, top 14. You aren't going to organizations that are winners unless you went to Golden State. But, right now, the Kia rookie ladder, as of week 3, it has number 1 rookie in the league right now is LaMelo. He's averaging 12 points. 7 boards, 6 assists in 25 minutes.
Off the bench.
Off the bench, too.
Off the bench, yeah.
You got James Wiseman, who is averaging 10, 6, and 1.5 blocks at 20 minutes.
And don't get fooled, people. He's a monster.
Yes. So we're gonna talk about each of them individually for what we know. We got number 3. We got a guy that I don't know much about, Tyrese Halliburton. He's averaging 12. 2 boards and 5 assists in 28 minutes. He's playing for Sacramento. And I've been hearing that he's really somebody to keep an eye on. Anthony Edwards, he's averaging 13, 2 rebounds, 2 assists in 25 minutes. And then we got another unsung guy, Patrick Williams from the Bulls, who's averaging 10, 3 boards and 1 assist at 26 minutes per game. What do you think?
I mean, that's
what stands out to you there?
That's who stands out?
Yeah.
Well, see,
from what you've seen,
I mean, we got to think about Sacramento. How many times we've seen them play? They're not on television that much. And with us, the time difference, we only get certain teams. But for sure, for me, the guy that stands out the most is Wiseman, just because he's a guy on Golden State. They're not running any plays for him. I know there was a soundbite of Draymond Green talking to him about, he had him in a mismatch and he wanted to get him downhill against somebody because, he had the advantage, whatever. But they're not specifically running anything for him. And he's in the right spots at the right time, and he's finishing at will. And when he's open, he's taking, he can shoot the 3. I mean, for me, he's the most impressive. Mm-hmm. But I will say a close second, of course, is that man in Charlotte, because he's coming off the bench and getting loose. But it's a little misleading sometimes, because when you come off the bench, you are going up against second team a lot of times. But you're a rookie, so I got to take my hat off to you.
Yeah, and he's been like those, he recorded a triple-double and all those things, and it might get some math or something. So he's been in some tough places. I think the one thing about all of this is Wiseman has the best vets around him.
For sure.
So that's what helps. Like Anthony Edwards, I hope he gets out of Minnesota soon. I hope Rich Paul makes something happen. Because have you seen any of those clips?
I don't want to see him.
No, but have you seen him? Just the clips of him play? Just his highlights and his thing. He got too much ability and too much potential to be stuck there in that spot. They need to just make sure KG can find a way to get ownership of that team and just get it together. Because man, because Anthony Edwards, he got some stuff with him. He has some stuff with him. But I agree with you as far as, Wiseman. And that's that thing about being a 7-footer. Your potential just is unreal. And when you're a 7-footer who can run like a deer, he got great hands.
He put on the floor.
He put on the floor. He got good touch. He has that good feel for the game. And then you put him around a guy like Draymond who's going to talk for, I don't know how much longer Draymond's going to be a Warrior, but that's just my take. But for while he's there, he's going to be feeding you. Draymond's one of the best basketball minds in the league right now.
Yep.
Right? So just having that around that young, that's going to be big. And I love what LaMelo is doing too. I don't know how much longer they can just bring him off the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's going to change too. Because what you talked about it too. One thing that's been impressive for me is his rebounding.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know how much longer they can do that for him. I think he got to get some more clock. But we'll see. But I definitely want to see Anthony Edwards in a better situation, man.
Hey man, you go to Minnesota, Sacramento, certain places like that. Whew.
Mm-hmm. Sacramento got potential though. They working on getting better. They getting better. They're competitive. They're doing a little bit. And when Sacktown get popping, that's not a bad place to play.
Yeah, but they only been popping once. Shout out to Pedro Stojakovic, Chris Webber, those guys.
I remember Doug Christie used to get on my nerves, man. Get on my nerves.
Mike Bibby, those guys, man.
Yeah, Jay Will.
That was one time. Yeah. So
Chris Webber messed that up like he did before.
Yeah.
No comment. Well, no, that's not bad. But when we talk about the league now, and we talk about the talent that's everywhere, because the league is healthy. The league is healthy. When you look at it, the league is healthy with talent everywhere. They got guys everywhere. But you sent me a picture earlier in the week of a quote. I think it was from Tim Duncan. It said, for a decade now, it has been about who can create the best collection of talent on one team. Or it might have been a coach who said this. But the old traditional Kobe or Duncan or Dirk way of winning was pure, but you almost are guaranteed to be on the outside looking in if you go that way now. the floodgate opened in July 2010, and I believe they're referencing when Miami happened.
LeBron
With
went
the
to the
Miami.
decision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's another thing too. Kobe was the last one to win a back-to-back chip without having those quote unquote superstars. So what I have here in front of me is the last 20 championship teams and their quote unquote star players, right?
Mhm.
So we'll start with 2020 Lakers. They got LeBron and AD. All right. 2019, they got Kawhi and Kyle Lowry. 2018, that's the Warriors stuff. So, 2018, 2017 is Warriors. So, you know what that is.
Mhm.
2016, you got LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love.
Mm-hmm.
Warriors, you got Steph Curry again with Klay Thompson. That was before KD. Then you got the Spurs. The Spurs, that's a juggernaut. That's an organization that was built because Tony Parker wasn't Tony Parker until after he, got there. Manu. Then you got the Heat in 2012 and 2013. Then after that, you got the Mavericks. That's just dirt. You got 2010, 2009 Lakers. 2008, you got the Spurs. I mean, not the Spurs, you got the Celtics. Then 2007, you got the Spurs. 2006, you got Shaq and D-Wade. Then 2005, you got the Spurs. 2004, you got the Pistons. They shouldn't have won that, but they got it. Then you got the Spurs again.
They won 5-1.
Yeah, then they got the Spurs again. Then they got the Lakers in 2002 and 2001. And then I think we got 2000 as well.
Okay.
But when you look at those, I mean, besides the Kobe and Shaq pairing, none of those are because Tony Parker was a draft pick. Am I correct?
Yes.
Manu was a draft pick, correct?
Yeah.
And Tim Duncan was 2 for the Spurs. The Spurs had that little dynasty there. But outside of everything that I named, only Kobe and Shaq was a real whoa, that's the most dominant big, and then that's like the best one-on-one basketball player on the wing in the league. But it's still just 2 of them. So there's 2 surrounded by Robert Horry, Derek Fisher,
right,
and all of those
Let's
guys.
Get into it. Let's get into it because I want to set the record straight. Let's stop with all the whoever made this comment. Let's stop. That's your point of view. But the actuality is there have been in the history of the NBA, there have been super teams before. As we quote unquote say, a super team is 3 stars that teamed up together. The only difference is now there's been an awakening where guys know how to navigate free agency a little bit better. Go back, all you guys are of this age, you're under the age of 25, go and Google Oscar Robertson and his fight for free agency. This is a situation where, you get a chance to get in the league and you perform well and your management isn't doing a good job of placing pieces around you and you're becoming stagnant, then you got to go to the best place for you. It's the same thing as you go to Harvard, you go to somewhere else in the Ivy League, or you go to Stanford or what have you, and you come out, you go to law school, you go to medical school, what do? You pick the best job for you. You go there, you get your start, and then after that, if you get a better opportunity, what do? You take your family and you move. It's the same thing these guys are doing now. They're putting their legacy into their hands. And I want to be clear on this. Tim Duncan and the Spurs, that's a rare situation where it's great ownership from top to bottom.
Pristine.
and a little bit of luck, because we all know it's luck. Because luck is involved, because you get Tim Duncan, and you already have David Robinson, who can groom him for the post position.
And you had some guys around you, Ellie. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's what you had some thugs. That's what I'm saying. It was the perfect storm. And then you get a chance to, when you have a foundation like that where you have a mild-mannered superstar, you can go out and bring in those other guys now and rule the organization with an iron fist, because now you either get in or you get out. That's it. That's bottom line. So you can go get those guys, and you think about it. How many other organizations were like the Spurs? Not many. Now, obviously, you mentioned Kobe and Shaq. Who do they play for?
Yeah.
The Lakers.
It's different.
You're talking about Kobe Bryant, the second best shooting guard of all time. Shaq, probably the top 3 center of all time, together playing under the Lakers umbrella.
With all of them.
Stop playing with me, man.
And if you go Celtics, the same thing.
So people talk about these guys searching together for superstars. You know what? They're taking their careers into their own hands, because you look at how many great players played in organizations that weren't trying to win.
Yeah.
And Dirk is mentioned. Dirk got lucky.
Yes. And Dirk was blessed to be in the space where Mark Cuban is one of the,
most progressive,
supportive, everything. He's a businessman, everything different. So, and you got to be that to win in a league where it's dominated by the Lakers and Celtics.
Correct. I mean,
right? It's completely dominated.
When Shaq, when D-Wade won his first one, D-Wade went ham in the playoffs. But you know what? Shaq averaged 15 and 11, and then you had Gary Payton. You had
Alonzo Mourning.
You had other key veterans who were stars once upon a time who played their roles to the T. Mm-hmm. Without that, they don't win. D-Wade still goes ham.
And who was head coach? Pat.
Yeah, correct.
So, those are all people who come from different spaces. Like, that's just the way it goes.
People, the average fan, the casual fan sitting there behind the computer screen, they have no idea. You can't just plug in. This is not a video game. You got to have all the pieces in place to have an opportunity to win.
That's why that move to Brooklyn to me is it's a good one for Harden, and it makes sense at this point in his career. It's not like he's 4 years in, 2 years in. It's not like we didn't see him, make an attempt on his own and have his shortcomings. It's one of those where he's like, all right, I'm 30, 32, whatever have you. Like, I can't be Chuck. Because those jokes, when Shaq tell him, yo, Chuck, I got 4 over here. Kenny got 2. Stop talking.
Right.
Man, it's cute. You got commercials that say it. Like, nobody wants to be that laughing stock. Whatever you say, I still got my jewel.
The only issue with Harden that people may have is that we remember those times where in Houston where
fell short.
He kind of didn't take it as seriously because I don't think he knew that time was running out.
Yeah.
Now he knows.
Yeah.
So now we get to see what happens, because I'm sure thinking back on it, he's probably thinking like, I probably could have skipped a night in the club, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. So, and it would have been legendary if it could, the way Houston was going, if he would have, had a better relationship with what CP3 was trying to push him towards. That would have been a legendary win. Even if they wouldn't have won the chip and they just would have went to the finals, that would have been a legendary one.
Yeah, if they just make it to the finals.
Yeah, because beating the Warriors would have been crazy. But I do think he still has a chance to make history because, like you said, when we talk about organizations, the Nets is an organization that, my Lakers swept y'all. Y'all were part of our 3P process and things. But they haven't really gotten close to winning anything like that at a high level. So you get them their first one, you get them to break that, even if it's just there. That's something that you're embedded in forever. It's a different type of history.
Getting the first one for Brooklyn in Brooklyn,
different.
It's huge. It's nothing. And meanwhile, the mecca of basketball, they're a bottom feeder.
Yeah,
it'd be incredible. New York would explode.
Upside down. That Madison Square Garden situation is out of this world too. Yeah, we'll get to that one day. But like you said, you mentioned this earlier, and that's enough for us on that topic. Like, get to the team, man. If you're really a hooper. Yes, you do like challenges, for sure. You do like challenges. But you also know when you're looking across the floor and you like, man, it's just me against those 5. and I got to do things like I can't even work at my strengths.
Yeah,
I got to do more than what I was supposed to. Like my strengths are here, but because I don't have anything here, and just for us to stay in the game, I got to do all these other things. Pieces to the puzzle. Let's get here.
Yeah.
So, everybody want to play with somebody who made the game
for sure
a little bit easier.
For sure. You just want to be able to do what you do best.
Mm-hmm.
That's you're a professional.
Yeah.
And so, and everybody's professional, right? So if you're a professional player, you should have a professional coach. You should have a professional manager.
Yeah.
You should have a professional general manager, a professional president of the operations,
athletic
trainer. And so the
everything.
whole thing. So if the general manager is making terrible moves, you're the one dealing with the media. You're the one dealing with the repercussions of the fans not being happy. So those guys, if they're making better decisions for their family and for their career, so what? All they're doing is what wealthy people have been doing for years in terms of using the system.
Right.
And so, and I'll say this is my parting shot, and this is not any joke to you or anything like that, but listen, for those of you that are sitting there saying that MJ and Kobe and those guys, you don't really know them.
Yeah.
MJ was close to leaving the Bulls if they didn't get any help, if they weren't going in the right direction. He didn't mind losing if they were at least trying. Kobe threatened to sit out one year if the Lakers didn't get him some help.
They bought houses in Chicago.
And it wasn't because Kobe was scared. It wasn't because Kobe was selfish or anything like that. It's because Kobe knew that in order for me to be the best that I can be, I need some help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what organizations do. So don't sit here and think that the guys who stayed at one organization for 20 years were just there and they were just happy. No, there was some turmoil in all that.
Hey, get out of there, Dame.
Yes. Dame Dollar.
Get out of there, baby.
Man, Hulu got other things in sports. You know what I'm saying? Get out of there. Like, I know you want to be prideful on it. Listen, champ. Listen.
We love you, man.
Yeah, go, man. Listen, we want to see you thrive, man.
Yeah, free Bradley Bill.
Oh, yeah, free Bradley. Man, listen. You should have been at the Capitol last week. You know what I'm saying? So.
Hey, man, that's tough. But on a serious note, we talked about Oscar Robertson. We talk about free agency and bridging the gap, right? We come back to this all the time because that's why we're here. Many of us, my age, my generation and younger, we don't understand the complexity of free agency and how it even came about. Like, we grew up just knowing that somebody can go where they wanted to go. They can sign somewhere different. They can change jerseys. They can do all these different things. I remember when I heard the first story of, I think it was Magic signing a 13-year or a 10-year, $10 million deal for $1 million a year. Like 10 years for $1 million in one space, and he was excited about it. You're like, listening to that now, you're like, oh, that's crazy. But somebody had to, change the system. Step outside, challenge the system, and push it forward because, it was a young organization. Things had to change. So, it was expected it was normal for a lot of those star players to be stuck in one situation for a long time until 1970.
Yep.
Right? And that's when Oscar Robertson, he led a suit that initially blocked the NBA's proposed merger with the ABA on antitrust grounds. So NBA players finally had negotiating leverage with the advent of the ABA in 1967. So they filed suit to stop the merger after the NBA realized it couldn't ignore the ABA out of business like it did the ABL of the 1960s. So the NBA went to Congress to seek exemption like baseball and football, but have been rebuffed. So it says then the ABA then filed its own antitrust suit against the NBA. So did Oscar start with the ABA?
I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure.
So the NBA lost in court, and the NBA players were running out of money to battle in court. So the settlement talks began in 1976. So they talk about your spirit of 76. So I think by 1976, the NBA evolved, and the instrument for freedom of players to move to teams through free agency happen. So that's breaking the whole teams had on players. No more clause to keep them in one place. Free agency was introduced, and there wasn't much movement until 1990s. So now it's an economic vehicle that drives NBA interest and everything else. We talk about this decision and all those things, but it's it's fairly new. We talk about the Civil Rights Act, we talk about Martin Luther King, and that only been 50 years and so speak. Like even think about the freedom the NBA players have to move to different teams. That's new. Talk about 1976. You were there. What was that situation like? You watching that? Because you told me about it.
It's great for the individual athlete having the opportunity to do as he or she pleases within the rules. But it's bad for some of the fans because we always talk about the middle market teams not being relevant in the NBA, and when they're not relevant, the league kind of lulls a little bit in terms of popularity. But what other than the players not having freedom and free agency would keep them in those middle market places? And you mentioned Magic Johnson signing 10 years, $10 million, right? Of course, $10 million was a lot of money back then, right? But that's a long time for somebody like a Magic Johnson who could go anywhere and do his thing. But you're talking about a kid from East Lansing, Michigan, Snow, signing a 10-year deal in LA. I can kind of see that.
Right.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
But just think about him willingly signing a 10-year deal in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I ain't feeling that. So we talk about the decision with LeBron. I think it was absolutely great because he gave Cleveland 7 good years, probably 7 of their best years ever, and it was his right to choose to go wherever he wanted to, And the great Earl Lloyd talked to me and my team about that situation, and he said that the fans of Cleveland should be happy that LeBron did give him his best 7 years there, because he could have easily just been there and been lethargic and waited his turn. But he gave him everything he had. And that's from Earl Lloyd. That's a guy from think about, that's before Oscar.
Way before.
Original. And so, these guys are only doing what's within the rules. And so now we're going to complain about that. But yet we give Rudy Gobert $200 million. So hey, let's shut up and let's watch it.
Yeah, and just to think, because the NBA is a players-led league.
Correct.
Right, and that's why in the off season it's still entertaining. Right, that's why free agency is entertaining, because it's player-led. And then just be completely honest, that's the difference between the NBA and every other organization.
Correct.
And we're just talking about the play. I don't know what it's like to work for the NBA outside of being a hooper or anything, but just seeing it visibly, we enjoy the NBA because of the freedom that they have as players, right? To express, to move, to manage, challenging, chasing some norms and things. Like, I couldn't imagine what the NBA would be if everybody was stuck to be in one place in one city.
Right.
Right. Then you don't hold anybody accountable for anything. Like,
right.
You can't expand, you can't scale things. So it's thankful for those OGs, right? Who made those things happen. And I would like to see it get acknowledged more, because, we talk about Oscar being one of the greatest ever because of the stats he put out, and he being the first real big guard, even before Magic. You put me down, the first real big guard who was
bully ball.
Yeah, bully ball and get it done. I mean, from Cincinnati. Like, that's a different game. So for him to be ahead as well, as far as making sure everybody can keep their money right and get freedom on those things, that's big. Because, the perception is always like, athletes are, modern day slaves or whatever. They $40 million slaves, that one book says. But there is some autonomy in the NBA that isn't afforded anywhere else in other workplaces, period. Right. And so the players fought for that. So I appreciate that too.
But you can tell that by players finishing their careers in the NBA and having the opportunity to come back and work around the NBA.
Yes,
I've seen it more so in the NBA than other places, and there's a lot of I think there's more fan interaction with the NBA as well.
Yes, it's more entertaining too. The All-Star Weekend. You look at the Pro Bowl and MLB All-Star Weekend things. They don't garner the same type of attention. It's not the same thing. We talk to the kids here because one of the things we have that we struggle with in the UAE right now is basketball growing. Right, basketball is I think basketball is the best sport in the world. Right, the most entertaining to watch. Football or soccer, as they say, is fun, but I think that's mainly based on the camaraderie amongst the fans, the dedication they have to the countries and all those things. But as a sport, who knows? It's a great as an art. We don't take away from that, but nothing is like basketball with the action. But you don't get to watch it a lot in Dubai and the UAE, so they really don't get to feel that atmosphere, that culture. Right. But once you feel it, it's just different. High school level, everything. High school for us, we had a band. We used to come out 2 different doors on the side and run out and do our thing. It's a different vibe. Coach even has we haven't gotten into our music part yet, but we'll get into that soon because we got to bridge some gaps there. But Coach brought back the warm-up CD from my senior year in high school. Either my senior year or junior year in high school. And we got some bangers on there. We got some bangers on there. Yeah. It's crazy that's on the CD. But all I have to say is basketball is great. And we got to appreciate the OGs who made sure they paved that way for us too. But, first podcast back. Felt good to, knock the dust off, the rust off, and get into it. Those of you guys have been following us. Ethan's been killing it with the visuals. Please, if you get a chance, comment on it, say something about it, because this guy, for some reason, he's been telling me for the last 4 months he's not good, he can't do it, all these other different things. And you guys see what we have, and it's just getting together. So while he's been socially responsible, staying away, staying quarantined, even though he doesn't have COVID, let him know that his efforts are appreciated. And you expect better later, because that's coming. But that's podcast episode number 12. We're about to wrap it up here. Before we get into the wrap up, Coach, what you got for your last minute, your post game wrap up?
Just real simple. 2021, new beginnings, new opportunities, bright future for everybody. Just wear a mask until we get this thing situated and we'll all be good.
Man, let's start the decade off right. But before we do, though, I got to make sure you give me my flowers. After we had our, today is Wednesday, is the last day of our work week until we get back on Saturday. So right after, before a conference call, I came home and I whipped up some dinner, and, he called me selfish, but I was thinking about the OG, right? I was thinking about the OG and I gave him a plate. And, you like to bust my chops about a lot of things. So go ahead and tell the truth, man. Go ahead and tell the truth.
At first, I like how you minimized my parting speech and everything. You know what I'm saying? We were just I was trying to be short to the point because this was a long episode, whatever. But I see you just killed my little, segue, whatever. But yeah, Ryan did a really good job. He and someone else, I'm not even going to say, helped him 99.9% of the way prepare a meal. It was really good. I'll admit that. I was very excited and very appreciative. But let's just say this. I am due for this. We're filming in my apartment. Man. Okay, so I deal with the residual effects of trash being on the floor, dirt being on, in certain places that wouldn't normally be here, tables and chairs being out of whack. I deal with that. So yes, I'm due. Okay? Because I'm always hosting this situation.
You funny, man.
Yes.
You funny.
I'm due. And let's go back to, say, 2008. Yes, I'm due a meal every every decade. Okay, so yeah, I'm giving you your props.
Man, that's crazy. You see how he just talked about how I cut him down after his speech, and then it's how he broke me down. It's crazy, but yeah, I fried some chicken, and had some things popping. And for all my people at home that know, I was pescatarian for 8 months until I got here, and things changed for the better. So I let that go. For me, all I'm gonna say is new decade, new year, new space. Um, you know, but you're still walking in with the same skin. So continue to work on the same things you were working on before. New outlook on everything. Be present. Enjoy. Don't be so hard on yourself. Like Coach says, everybody isn't perfect. Every situation isn't perfect. Just keep working. So that's us. That's Bridgin the Gap podcast. Coach Ryan Yates, whatever you want to say. JK, Jules the Jeweler here. Remember, if you're in the UAE and you want to get some bump, you want to learn about basketball, if you want to feel the real essence of the culture, Hoopmountain basketball, Hoopmountain Dubai, Hoopmountain.ae on Instagram, www.hoopmountain.ae online. We're available. Talk to us. We're here. Follow the podcast. Got some new things coming. Take care. That's it.